Yay. Okay.
There you go. Yep.
So welcome everybody to the Landmarks Committee meeting. Thank you for attending. For the benefit of Sarah and any other public member who shows up, we're going to try to operate in the informal way we usually do with some discussion among us. If you're not a committee member, please register your attendance. And Sarah, you can test this out now. Just go to the chat and enter your name and affiliation. Please stay muted unless you are speaking. This just prevents ambient noise from messing up the meeting. Please raise your hand if you wish to speak. Does everybody know how to raise their hand? I won't go into the details. Okay, after we approve the minutes, the presenters will speak. As always, after the presentation, committee members will discuss. Public attendees will then have an opportunity to speak and ask questions. When you speak, please state your name at the beginning so that you'll be on the record. And finally, we'll formulate and pass a resolution. So, our agenda for tonight is very simple. That's why I don't think it's going to go till 10 o'clock. Okay, we're going to do approval of minutes, obviously. We're going to hear this certificate of appropriateness, and we have potentially two speakers. Shay Murdoch is the primary speaker. May is his backup. And then we'll create the resolution and vote on that, and then we'll vote to adjourn. Okay. So, first, oh, I guess I should just leave that agenda right up there, shouldn't I? We can go back and forth to it if we want to. Now, how do I switch back? Clint, I need your help. I want to switch back to see the full screen now. I'm just leaving this agenda here in case we want to go back. Hope you're muted.
Okay, sorry. So just go up to the top. You can hit stop share. If you hit stop share.
There it is. Great.
There you go.
All right, good. Okay, and somebody has his hand up already. Is that you, David?
Yeah, I was wondering, I don't remember seeing the minutes of the last meeting. Not that it's terribly important, but we're going to be voting on it.
Right, it was the minutes were, it was an informational meeting that we had that time, so there wasn't any resolution.
Okay, yeah, I remember that. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'll go quiet now. Bye.
It's a good reminder for me to send out the minutes so people know. All right, may I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
And who can second this?
Second.
Thank you. So, all in favor? Let's see you raise your hand.
Yeah, I think you have to kick roll call in this because otherwise because I can't raise my hand. I can do a *9.
All right. Mitchell Gruber? Just say yes, Mitchell.
Yes.
David Adams?
Yes, and here.
Linda Jones? Yes. Okay, done. Now let's move on to the presentation. So we have certificate of appropriateness, and our main presenter is Shay Murdoch. Shay, do you want me to put up your presentation?
I can do it. It's probably easier if I do, then I can scroll through it.
Is that possible?
So I'm going
okay.
to share my screen. Host disabled attendee screen sharing. You're muted. It says host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna
Yeah,
enable that here.
Let's see. If I were doing it, I'm not going to. Okay.
So I think.
Do you have to make him a host to allow it?
There was an option, but it seems like in this meeting setup, they don't have it. So so I'm going to do that.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yep. Actually, because you're the original host, Linda, just make him
Do I have to do it?
Yeah.
Oops, nope, that's not what I meant to do. Make the right person co-host. Yes. Okay, give it a try now, Shay.
Okay. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. So introductions, I'm Shay Murdoch, Murdoch Salone Architects. We are the architects for 538 East 11th Street. And this is the free public baths of the city of New York. We call it the bathhouse, just to shorten that title. This was originally built by Arnold Bruner, well-known New York architect at the turn of the century, and it was completed in 1904, 1905. And in 1996, around then, it was converted from its previous use to a single-family residence, which it is now still to this date. The new owners have undergone renovations, and we've worked with staff for most of this, and this just happens to be one item where staff was not comfortable. They felt like it should go to the commission and therefore to CB3 as well, right? So one of the this is a Italian style Renaissance facade, and we're not touching that facade. So nothing we're doing is on the outside, which is why staff wasn't sure if this should be a commission level hearing or if they could do it at staff. And ultimately they decided we should just go ahead and run it through the commission. So we're not touching the outside of the facade. There is a plan in the future to restore it, but that's going to be done as part of a bigger restoration program of the front facade. Not at this time. As part of the interior, and I'm skipping ahead because, well, you're all familiar with this building. I assume you've seen it in the neighborhood. It stands out a bit from all of the tenements and dark brick buildings around it. It's a two-story structure, and well, 3 stories if you include the cellar. So the focus of what we're doing is on the interior of the front facade. So but it is exterior. So it's a vestibule that's still exterior, but through the threshold of the main facade. And so we're calling it it's a vestibule, but it's an exterior vestibule. And when they converted this in the 90s, they installed throughout the residence this blue mosaic tile. And the owner feels it's cold and wants to put something warmer there, more inviting. And we have already in the, if you look at G101, image 5 and image 6. So this is on the second floor of the residence. There's an interior courtyard behind the front facade. And this was already approved at staff level and has been installed, as well as there's a rear garden on the second level on the exterior, also not visible from any public way, where the same application was approved by staff and installed in the rear. So we're about to, we finished with that floor of the residence and we're moving on to rent. We're phasing the residence work for a number of reasons, but we're on now to the main level of the residence and the restoration and the renovation of that. And we're bringing that same theme of the warm wood down into the interior of the first floor. So this is where it's already been applied on the exterior, in the rear, and in the interior court. These are just some renderings of what's going to be happening. This is all interior, and this is also all at staff level because it is interior. So the areas that we're here to talk about today are these areas here indicated with the blue lines, these are now that blue tile. So the street is out here, the sidewalk. I don't know if you can see my mouse or not.
Yes, we can. Mhm.
Okay, and then there's blue tile along this wall and this wall. And this is a ramp that runs down that was parking in the basement. And then there's a small steep ramp for loading things in the eastern gate, and the center gate remains the entrance to the residence. So we're proposing to remove this tile or clad over this tile with the similar wood that we're using on the interior, and this right. So these are the areas that we're talking about. So this is the east facing wall interior of the exterior facade, the west wall, and then down that ramp. And these are minimally visible from the street. I mean, you can see it's north facing, so it's always kind of in shadow. But it is visible up close as you walk by. So that's probably why we're going to the commission. The ceilings, though, we will not be being clad. We're working with staff. We want to just paint those. We want those back to a limestone color or something like that. But this wall, the ramp side, and that's the ramp going down into the basement. And then these renderings show where we're using it on the interior. So immediately when you walk in past this, you're going to see this wall, which is the slats of the same material. And in that instance, we are using the same Ipe wood on the ceilings. And we're just trying to sort of tie the whole design together from when you penetrate the main facade to when you actually experience the rest of the residence on the interior. So this is more generated really from designs that are happening on the inside to tie the whole thing together. And that is pretty much the scope. So you can see the before and after of the front facade, excuse me. So there it is, that's the area that's the blue tile. Same area is represented now in the wood. The front facade, you can see there's no change.
Okay. So really, if I'm walking on the sidewalk fairly close to those, I guess those are like, what are they, cast iron or?
They're metal gates. They're black
Okay.
steel gates. Yeah, I'll go back up to some photos that are a little closer. So
I would see through those gates, and I would see blue tile.
Right now you would see blue tile. You can see a piece of it here. And you can kind of see, yeah, you really have to come into the residence to really experience it.
Yeah.
You know, it's minimally visible, but it was enough of visibility that, staff just wasn't comfortable just approving it.
Being careful. Okay, do any committee members have questions? Please raise your hand if you do. See, I don't see any raised hands. So Mitchell and David, you guys have no questions?
No, it's more of a comment than a question.
Okay.
I realize that the mosaic tile is not historic. And I don't know what you have in mind when down the road you're talking about restoring the facade, as to whether those exterior spaces beyond the arches will be more visible or less visible. I'm assuming that the existing gates are not historic. It seems to me that your expectation of entering a bathhouse, and I realize it's now a private residence, but your expectation of entering a bathhouse is closer to seeing tile when you enter than seeing this this wood. That it's just a comment.
Yeah, and that tile, was put in the 90s. It looks like it's from the 90s. It's not an old mosaic like a bathhouse might have. It's not a very pretty tile, and frankly, it's an aesthetic thing. The owner doesn't like it. They feel like it was somebody trying to replicate a bathhouse poorly, and with a tile which now today, 25 years later, just looks old and dated. And but to your first point, the intent in the restoration is really a restoration. So when these gates were put in, they are not original, but they are what was landmarked. So they're going to be, it was landmarked in 2007. We have no intention, or there is no intention of removing these gates. Most of the restoration work is going to probably be cleaning and repairing some of the limestone, but nothing, no modifications to the facade, which would include the gates. So the visibility would not increase beyond what it is now in any restoration.
The facade is kind of cool. Like you have, I don't know if you can point to these tridents that are at the top of on that top, along where it says free public baths. There are these little tridents in there.
Yeah, they had a nautical theme on that they did pick up on. There's some nautical themes in that frieze at the top.
Okay. So David, did you have any comments or questions? No? Do any members of the public wish to speak? Please raise your hand if you do.
Hello, this is David.
Oh,
I
David.
picked.
Yeah, go ahead.
I kind of see what Mitch was saying, and it did strike me that. Does anyone know what the original walls were like when it was made?
Unfortunately, no.
So, but as Mitch said, it's a little bit of an awakening to see that. It's also so modern, and this building doesn't look that old. That new. I mean, it sort of may not. But if you don't know what was there before, I don't know what we could say about it.
Yeah,
Right.
and if you look at
The
what's
designation
modern,
report says nothing.
Yeah, so I don't know. We can each take our own aesthetic approach to what should be there, but that should not, I guess, be limiting to what the owner wants to do.
Right.
As he said, it's like Mitch said, it could be a bit jarring, but we have no historical context to put it into, so what can we say?
Yeah, I mean, it was an odd selection to begin with, honestly, with this design from the 90s where they put a aluminum storefront, very modern storefront, almost curtain wall system at the interior. This is to me almost more jarring than any of the finished treatments on the side, but there's not much we can do about that. That's just, It is what it is on that, with all of the aluminum.
Yeah. So, although there could be comments, I don't think anything that would change the effect of what, change anything. He owns the building and he's not damaging the front or anything like that. And it seems like he's going to renovate in context. So I really can't object too strongly to what's happening here. Okay, I'm going to go on mute again so other people can talk.
Okay, thank you, David. Okay, we have public comment from Sarah. Sarah, will you put in the chat that you're commenting? Just so we have, it kind of makes the minutes since we don't have speaker sheets. And then you go ahead and speak.
Hi, yeah, I'll do that. So the blue tile was put in the 90s. Was there any kind of like probe to see what was underneath to try and figure out what I mean, I'm assuming that it would have been stone at that vestibule, you know, when you were looking into the arches and stuff like that. And so the question is, you know, typically whenever there's a new cladding over something, architects are looking underneath to see what's there. So my question is, has any kind of research been done as far as that goes?
Can you answer that, Shay?
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Sure.
Yes.
Yes, it's just it's the party wall brick. So whatever material was in there before was removed. It's just the brick, and it's really not in very good shape, which is why we're going to encapsulate it. We're not even removing that tile for fear of any damage that might happen through that process. But it's just it's the brick walls. They're on the inside of the residence. They're just exposed regular red brick.
Huh. Okay.
Currently.
So the interior of this vestibule that was open to the street was clad in brick. It wasn't.
No, it may have had another finish on it, but it's not apparent. It's not there anymore. From where we did probes, this whole wall is brick. So we didn't probe everywhere, but we believe that it's brick behind there.
All right. All right. That's my question.
Okay, anyone else have a question? Let's see. Yeah. Okay, you lowered your own hand. Okay, we had one letter from the Lower East Side Preservation Initiative. So I will, if you will kindly give me back sharing the screen, I will put that up.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Great. Let's see if I can do this again. Where did my... Ooh. Okay, let me close this one. And oh, I closed the window by mistake. I'll learn how to do this. Next time I'll be a pro.
And one more thing while Linda's pulling that up, I know there's a few more people that have joined since the beginning of the meeting. If you are a guest or a member of the public, if you could go ahead and in the chat box at the bottom of the screen, if you could just type your name and your affiliation, since we don't have a sign-in sheet, that's how we can keep track of it for the meeting minutes and the records.
Oh, thanks for giving us that. Okay, here comes Leslie's comments. They were brief. They essentially said that Leslie understands the work to consist of the removal of non-historic blue tile from within, which you're not actually doing right, you're just covering it over, and its replacement with IPE hardware cladding, as this work appears to be confined entirely to non-historic portions of the building and will not involve any changes to the historic street facade. Leslie has no objection to the work as shown in the architectural drawings, as it will not change any of the character defining features of the historic architecture. So that's that. That's it. Any other public comment? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Susan has her hand up, actually.
Susan, yes.
Hi, Linda. Hi, everyone. Thanks. It may be a moot point now, but when I saw this listed in the meetings, I was most interested as I live 2 blocks away. So I went by and took photos because I did love the hue of the tiles. And I'm involved in a developing community project where we had just been talking about tiles for an outdoor community project on 9th Street. It would take a while. But now, as I understand it, Shay, And in the description that I read online, it was possible there were two options, that it would be removed or covered over. And I understand now that's already decided that it's going to be covered over. My interest was in learning about, I understand the tile is from Mexico. I spoke with someone who knows the former owner. And I wanted to know about historical value. So I learned all of that, and I know that it's not now. But about the potential for removing it, that was all. So I understand it's to do with the safety of the walls. You cannot remove it safely to do with structure.
Well, we might be able to, but it's a cost thing. So I guess the question is their interest. I mean, I can certainly discuss it with the owner if there's interest in perhaps repurposing that tile. I don't know how well it will come off.
Yeah.
But if you want to connect with us separately, I can ask her if she would be interested in.
I'd love to explore that. Great, thanks.
To another cause.
Yeah, it's a community project that's just developing, and so I'll speak with them, and I'll reach out to you anyway. And I would love to have that conversation and see if anything can come of it. And great, thanks.
Okay.
Any more public comment? Okay, let's move on to the resolution then. I drafted something which we can modify as we like. Back to sharing the screen again. Okay. So the first sentence is just routine. Whereas the Free Public Baths architect Arnold W. Bruner was built in 1904-1905 in the Neo-Italian Renaissance style, using Indiana limestone on the facade. And whereas the designation report published in 2008 makes no mention of the blue mosaic tile the applicants would replace. And whereas the blue mosaic tile was installed around 1980, I think it was 1990, you say. That was a guess on my part. 1990. It's neat to be able to just edit as we go, right? Where it was installed.
Linda, did you intend to have it up on our screens?
Yes, can you see it?
No, you're actually, it's your Windows Explorer. I think you need to share your other window maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought I did. I don't know how to change that.
So if you go to share, it will bring up a couple different options. You can share just the program or your full screen.
Okay.
So you can choose your Word program, or you can share your entire desktop and screen.
Okay, I just want to share this. Let's see if it comes up better. Now is it better?
Yep, that's it. Now you got it.
Okay. So going down to that the designation report makes no mention of the blue tile, which I found kind of interesting. I guess they just weren't interested in it. Whereas the blue mosaic tile was installed around 1990 and is not historic, and whereas the proposed hardwood cladding would be minimally visible from the exterior, I think that was correct. Just take my parenthetic remark out of there. I wish I could see my keyboard. That would be really nice. It's supposed to light up, and of course it doesn't light up until you hit a key, and you can't hit a key because you don't know what key. Okay, minimally visible from the exterior of the building, and whereas no alteration to the facade of the building is proposed. So therefore be it resolved, CB3 has no objection to the project and approves the C of A application. Comments?
Looks good to me.
David?
I would, this is David. We say no objection, it's fine, but you say approval, I'm not 100% sure.
Well, you either have to approve or disapprove, David.
Oh well. We can't say we don't disapprove.
Would you like me to just say CB3 approves the certificate of appropriateness without the no objection?
I don't, because you say people are jarred by it. I don't know if you want to use the terminology approval.
No, You're good at this. We have to either approve or disapprove, and we do not disapprove.
Okay. All right, then leave it as it is.
Okay. Seem okay to you, Shay and May?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Okay,
Yes, thank you so much.
you're welcome. So there we are.
And
We have
it is
to actually
not
vote,
10
though.
o'clock.
We have to actually vote.
We do have to actually vote, and we will actually vote.
Okay.
May I have a motion?
I move to approve the resolution.
I move not to disapprove.
Please second, David.
A second.
Okay, I'll just do a quick poll here. Mitchell,
I vote yes.
David?
I don't disapprove. I vote yes, okay.
Thank you, David. You're so cute.
You're welcome.
Linda, yes? Okay, that takes care of that.
That's why I have to hide my face.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I see, I knew I'd get you.
Second.
All in favor?
I approve.
Aye.
All right, it's done. Thank you very much, everybody. That was good. We didn't take too long at all. I didn't think
Yeah,
so.
let's just stay on the line for another hour to make it feel worthwhile.
Okay, we can do that. Did everyone in the public who joined in put their name in through the chat? We really do need to know that you were here. I don't know, recognize. There's somebody named John that I don't recognize there. Unless you already put yourself in the chat. Let's see. I see Susan, but I do not see John. John, who are you? John? Yo. Somebody who chooses not to sign in. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, we have agreed to adjourn, so let us adjourn. Thank you very much. It was a good presentation. Good luck to you with the commission.
Thank you.
Well, this will
All
go
right.
to the full
See you.
board approval.
Not see you in a couple of weeks. Bye.
Yeah. Full
Yeah.
board will need to approve this before it's official, but I'm pretty sure nothing will change.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. I'm going to end the meeting now.
Linda, I just have one procedural question. Raise your hand.
Oh, you have to, I should have gone through that. I should have asked if everybody knew how. You see a button at the bottom that says participants?
Yes.
You click that, and at the bottom of that list, you'll see raise your hand.
Yes. All right. Thank
All
you.
right. You're welcome.
I didn't know that either, so thank you, Linda.
You're welcome. I should have gone through it. I thought, well, you know.
You could also vote from there too. Well, that's besides the point.
Yes, we could vote. We could raise our hands to vote. That would work.
There's a yes and no button as well.
Is there? Sometimes
Yeah,
there
right
is,
here.
sometimes there isn't.
I don't see a vote not to disapprove, though. I don't.
No, I don't see that either. I
I
also
guess
don't.
that's why.
I don't
That's why
see yes, no. Sometimes
I
you see it, sometimes you don't.
have to speak to Roberts about that.
Definitely. And nobody flushed a toilet.
We're not Supremes.
Okay. See you all soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.